What?
She's saying what?
Good evening.
Y'all looking for me, ain't y'all?
Don't pay him no mind, y'all. Don't pay him no mind. Y'all come on in the room. Come on in the room. Jesus is your doctor. He write down all your medicine.
All your scriptures. All your subscriptions.
And gives you all your medicine in the room. Come on in.
I ain't sent her that one.
Come on in and get the medicine.
I'll be right back, y'all.
Come on in the room, y'all. Come on in the room. Mm-hmm. Come on in the room. Cause we in here.
That better.
We's up in here. Up in here.
Y'all gonna make us like a fool up in here. Y'all gonna make us blow our cool.
Up in here.
I can't sing the rest of the song. I don't know what the, never mind. I was ready to say somebody in the middle.
Come on, y'all.
We is in there.
Come on in the room, y'all.
Come on in the room.
Come on, y'all. Yes, yes, yes. How y'all doing? Y'all remember that song? Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. How you been doing? How you been doing? Since you been filled with the Holy Ghost.
I don't know.
Hey, y'all. You don't know about that song?
No, about me.
Okay. I don't like not having music. I need Facebook to get it together.
Yeah, man. Facebook. Carol's crazy.
I need to have some kind of sound. This just ain't right. This don't feel right. Don't sound right. Good evening.
Yeah, it don't sound like what's on that in the music in here.
No, it don't. Just don't.
We supposed to have some music. Just like music. Turn on some music. Oh, ooh, I go crazy. Now let's stop. Yeah, it's just like, y'all know we normally come in with some music, but Facebook was like, nah, we done with that.
Yeah, they kept muting our videos, so we can't have music, can't have instrumental. It's just ridiculousness. Even when we put the disclaimer up there, they just still. So anyway, we're not even gonna get on that rant. It's not important.
Indeed, it's not.
But we just wanted to come on here again on tonight. So good evening, good people. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, good people.
We are glad to be back with you on tonight. Excited to be back here. Before we get started, we always start with prayer, and so I have my wonderful husband who will bring forth prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. But thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun tonight. I'm trying to tell you, this is gonna be something.
Hey, Mrs. Rogers. So we like to always introduce ourselves to those who might be new watching on tonight or maybe watching the replay. I am Teresa Davis, and this is.
I'm her husband. My name is Don.
His name is Danielle Davis, but because people can't say his name right many times, he just tells them it's Don.
Man, I'm Danielle, Donald, Danielle, 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 Danelle, Danielle, Danielle, Danielle. Glenda named me Danielle. So, I'm gonna stick with him.
How does that make you feel when they mess your name up?
I'll be okay, I guess. You know, sometimes it kind of, you know, Miss Rogers laughing at me. Sometimes, sometimes it bothers me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but other than that, I'm good in the hood.
Okay. Okay.
So tonight we're really gonna just laugh. So tonight, you know, my wife, she is so charismatic and she's so thoughtful. So when we started this king and queen thing, she already had an idea. That's just how she rolls. And she was like, babe, we can do this once a month. And we can talk about, you know, this and we can talk about that. And so what we did is we decided we're going to talk about kings and queens and how it just services for men and women. And I'm going to turn this off. So tonight we're going to talk about Mr. and Mrs. Wrong.
But before we get into that,
But I don't know why you let me start and then you know you were going to cut me off anyway.
well, I told y'all to go.
Yeah, but then you told me to go and start talking.
I did. I told you to pray.
Oh yeah, see, I ain't paying no attention. See, husbands.
So anyway, I want to just first of all say to you that we're praying, and those who were thinking about my dad and all that. Thank you so much for your prayers. Thank you for your thoughts and towards him and all of those good vibes that you sent towards him last Tuesday. For those who don't know, he had surgery where he had to repair 2 aneurysms that he had. He had one in his aorta and one in his iliac.
You want to explain that?
And so both of those are leading from the heart to the abdomen down to the legs. And the iliac aneurysm had grown about 2 to 3 centimeters in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 2018 when he had the first test. And so they needed to repair them. And so he had to have what is called an endovascular aneurysm revascularization. So basically, they had to put a stent graft in to make sure that the blood was flowing through correctly and not being detained, not being held up and stopped by the aneurysms. So they were able to do that successfully, and the surgeon was very pleased with the outcome of the surgery. My dad is doing very well. He is healing because they had to do 2 small incisions in his groin area because this type of procedure is non-invasive, so it's not like a lot of cutting. It's just 2 small incision areas. And so he was only in the hospital overnight and went home the next day. That's how much the medical field has changed over the years and has gotten better, and they know how to do things without having to do like major cuts on people, and so he is doing quite well. I am pleased to say, doing very well. He is home with my mother, and she is taking very good care of him. And so yeah, they're doing quite well. They're doing good. So thank you again for all of your prayers, your concerns, your thoughts toward us. We are doing well. Thank the Lord. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into tonight's topic.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I am not.
He said the topic is Mr. and Mrs. Wrong. So that can be taken in several ways, but tonight, because we're doing the segment, our new segment, which is Kings and Queens, we're talking about Mr. and Mrs. Wrong in regards to relationships. And I'm sure that this is a topic that everyone can relate to, because at some point in your life, perhaps unless you, are still with your high school sweetheart or whatever, you ended up marrying them, you didn't have a chance to date anybody else. But for the most part,
okay,
we have similar stories of, right and wrong relationships.
Yeah.
And so, and we know how wrong relationships there's a price to pay for them. There's a cost in when we go down the wrong road, when we end up having the wrong partner in life. But I think, and this is just me, and you all can say yay or nay, whether you agree or not, but I think that also there are lessons learned in those seasons. I'm going to call them seasons. In those seasons of us getting to know ourselves, getting to know the person, and really growing, and realizing what it is that you want, what it is that you're not going to settle for, what it is that you're looking for, you're desiring. And so when you have those checks and balances in life, when you veer off from that pathway of the checks and balances, then you end up with Mr. Wrong or Mrs. Wrong. But I think it's good when you can have the opportunity to go back and reevaluate your checklist, because I think the checklist comes with maturity. You agree? Yeah, the checklist comes with maturity, and so we don't start off with checklists. It just, like I said, it comes with just experience. It comes with growth and knowing who you are, learning who you are, becoming who you were meant to be as a woman or a man, becoming who God created you to be as a woman or a man. Going through challenges, going through life experiences, going through pain, going through loss, going through all those things that life brings us, as I call them, seasons. Because seasons change, they don't stay the same. And so when we go through our stuff, when we go through our ups and downs of life, they're seasons. And so we go through seasons in relationship with people, and with people that we're in husband and wife, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. You go through seasons with them. And when I say that is because sometimes you can be going along and be in your relationship, and this is I'm talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, you're dating, whatever. But then you realize, hey Topeka, then you realize that I don't think I really like this in this person anymore, or I don't like what I'm seeing in this person. That's not what I want, because we evolve, and the things that we once may have liked and may have found attractive, as we grow, as we mature, sometimes it's no longer attractive in a person. Like,
Trying to tell me something?
for like,
You trying to tell me something?
like for instance,
Yes, you trying to tell me something.
I was attracted to like the roughneck type of guy, in the street guy. Yeah. That's what I was attracted to back then. And I didn't really mind that he was a drug dealer. As long as he didn't bring it around me, as long as he didn't get me in the mix. I'll put it that way.
In the mix.
But as I grew and as I matured, then I realized, you know what? That's really not the person I want to end up with marrying. Like, they were fun, you know, at the time, you know, but that's not who I want to end up with marrying. But however, I still like the guy that was a little rough around the edges. And so when I prayed about my husband, I'm gonna be honest, I just told the Lord, I was like, you know what? I said, God, I think I want somebody who is from the streets. You know, I don't really want a church boy, like a church boy that grew up in church. I want a guy who grew up in the streets, but you have changed. You have turned him. You have transformed him into the man of God you want him to be. And that's the kind of guy I wanted.
And he bought her a
that's
school
what
boy.
I got.
And he bought her a choir boy.
That's what I got.
That's exactly what she get.
Ain't no choir boy in
the
him.
The Lord bought her a choir boy.
Ain't no choir boy.
I'm talking about this old roughneck guy from the street.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
So yeah, so that's what I mean when I say that, you know, when you're younger, you have a ideal of what you want your man or your woman to be like. But as you grow, as you mature, those ideals can change because you have changed with the seasons you've gone through. You have changed. And so your desires become different. It's just like when you grow up and you may not desire to eat, let's say eat a beets or eat Brussels sprouts. But as your palate matures, that can change when you're older. Like now, I like beets. I love Brussels sprouts.
Negative.
I can eat both of them.
Negative.
But as a kid, I did not. So, like I said, it changes. You grow. We all evolve.
So, my desire when I was growing up was whoever I could have sex with. And I didn't really have a preference. I did, for real. You know, I had this, I guess we're polar opposites, because I didn't want the girl that called herself ghetto or hood rat or none of that kind of stuff. I wasn't about it. My wife would tell you, you want to know what turns me off? What turns me off is ratchetness. So even though I was all the things that she explained from the beginning, roughneck, all those kind of things, I guess. What other adjectives that you had with that? Yeah, I kind of fit that narrative. I kind of introduced that narrative to my wife. So, but that wasn't what I was looking for. You know, and before I met my girlfriend, who would eventually have a child by me, who would eventually become my wife, you know, I had a whole lot of wrong. Because all I was looking for, like I said, was who can I have sex with? Because to me, you know, being raised by a bunch of guys who really didn't understand themselves what true intimacy was, or what true love was, or what the dynamics of relationships were, it was just conquer. You know, that's all. You know, you get another woman, that's another notch in your belt. So I went for holes in the belt, and I moved around a lot, from place to place, because of what I thought I was looking for with a sexual appetite. I really was looking for a woman that just loved me for me. But I didn't know that at the time because I was a child, and you know, you do very childish things when you are a child, and you think very childish ways when you are a child. And I'm thankful that I don't have 85,000 kids. You know, yes, which means that is, that's the macro, but basically I'm just saying a lot of kids. Because I have friends who have 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, you know, and I only had one child. And I think, man, I had a lot of Mrs. Wrongs. Because I was Mr. Wrong. You know, I was Mr. Wrong. I was Mr. Wrong for her. And a whole lot of other hers. Shoot. What? You know, one of the things that I think is hard for people to admit is not that they picked wrong, but that they're wrong also. You know, I this running thing I tell my wife all the time is I'm on Facebook a lot for y'all that have been hiding under a rock. I'll post something every day basically because I'm always trying to encourage people and I'm always looking from the outside of people and saying, you know, I don't have any problem with vulnerability. But one of the things that I always see on Facebook is I see women venting about baby daddies. And I always tell my wife, everybody knew he was trifling. So you slept with him. You had another day with trifling, but you slept with him because everyone knew it. The track record was trifling. And now you're venting. Or I see men venting about this no good such and such. And I'm saying, dude, you knew who she was when you met him. Because sometimes we'll settle for Mr. Wrong or Mrs. Wrong, thinking that we can help them become Mr. or Mrs. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? We make the mistake, I'm just going to make it plain. We make the mistake and we put the cart before the horse. We sleep with the person, we get emotionally attached to them, we get wrapped up sexually, and now we can't let them go, we want to make it the right. Because you would say, oh, well, I know he's got this quality in him and I see it. I know she got this quality in her because I see it. Because you already opened Pandora's box. And now you got a soul attachment with this person, and it's good, and you'll make any excuses.
Yep, you do it.
You know? And I think growth begins when you're able to look in the mirror and say to yourself, not only was the person I was dating wrong, I was wrong because either I settled or I knew this was the wrong person. You know, being Mr. and Mrs. Wrong is not always the other person. I was about to marry the wrong person. You know what I mean? I told this story before. I was going to marry a woman I met when I was in prison. God works funny. Another person who was working in the prison investigated this woman because this person who also worked in the prison had desired a guy like me who was in jail. My best friend, who ended up being the best man at my wedding, told said woman, if you don't leave my brother alone, you're going to lose your job. They sent me out to jail. When I got somewhere where, this is how God moves, and I'll give it back to my wife. So our daughter at the time was going through her teenageness. My wife had sent her number to my mother and told me to call her. I called her. That was the first real conversation we had in 7 years. You know what I mean? And then she said, I hear you're getting married. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm getting married. And she was like, well, I think you need to take your time because I don't think you really know this person. You really need to come home and get yourself together and find out who this person really is. And God used her. God used her to give me the right information because I was about to marry the wrong person. And little did God, well, God already knew, but little did we know that God said, I'm moving all this stuff out of the way because I'm going to bring y'all back together anyway for that storybook ended. Because it might start out wrong, but it can be right. Can't get no right up. You know what I mean? So this was one of those situations. It's the truth. We can't get no writer. You know what I mean? And hold on, I'm almost finished. And she started talking at the beginning about not liking people. And sometimes in the right relationship, and it's perfect, there's some imperfection going on. Sometimes you just don't like the person you wake up next to. I know it's plenty more that she wake up, she's like, well, I could just choke you, and I don't even know what I done. And she don't either. And sometimes I look at her, she was like, I know you want to punch me, don't you? And I don't want that, she ain't done nothing. I don't even know what it is. But at the end of the day, I can't imagine a day without her. I spent enough days without her. So, this right here. Don't keep looking at me, you know it's right. You looking at me like it's wrong. I mean, it's something you need to tell me in here. You know what I mean? While we're on this Facebook Live.
I'm really crazy.
You about to make Zuckerberg shut it down. Hey, Topeka.
Topeka, come get your brother. But anyway, so in what you were saying about, you know, the wrong, having Mr. Wrong, Mrs. Right, and doesn't always have to be the other person. You can be wrong. You could be Mr. Wrong or Mrs. Wrong for that individual as well, because your mindset isn't where it needs to be. It's not at a mature place. Because sometimes we're not right for that person, because we're not where we need to be or should be. We haven't grown to maturity to handle a relationship, handle what they bring to the table. We're always like, you know, what is he gonna bring to the table? Especially us women, you know, what is he bringing to the table? Well, what are you bringing to the table?
Man, you better talk about it.
You know,
I couldn't say it.
What are you bringing to the table? Because it has to be more than your looks, because your looks are fleeting. They fade. It will fade away. No matter how much makeup you put on, it will fade. And so you still have to have something you have brought to the table to maintain that relationship, maintain that person that you choose to spend the rest of your life with. You gotta have something of substance, you know, intelligence. Gotta be able to hold a good conversation. You can you cook? Do you know how to keep a house? Do you know how to hold things together? You know how to support your man? You know, there's a lot of qualities that go into making sure that you are the right person. And we talk about it with me and my sisters, encouraging our young, our single sisters who are among us, encouraging them to work on themselves in your singleness, in that season of your life of being single. Work on you so you can be Mr. or Mrs. Right, because you may not be right now because you're still working on some things. Take time to do that. Take time to enjoy being with yourself, because if you can enjoy being with yourself, then I believe that person will enjoy being with you too, because you attract who you are.
Yeah, facts.
And so if you are a joy to yourself, you enjoy being with yourself, you enjoy loving on yourself, caring for yourself, doing things for yourself, then it won't be anything for that person to come along and do those things for you, want to take care of you, all of that. Because you already know how to take care of yourself. You already know how to make you happy. You already know how to, you know, do things for you. You know how to bring it to the table, who you are, all of it. And so I encourage, and not just women, I'm talking about men too. You know, take the time to work on you during this single life, this single time in your life. If you need to get therapy, go get some therapy. Go work on those areas that need some fixing. You still got some things lingering from your past, from your childhood, past relationships, all that. Get that stuff cleaned up. Get that stuff right. Don't bring it to the person who's making themselves right for you. Get rid of it. Handle it. Because it's not fair to you, or it's not fair to the person that has fallen in love with you for you to bring some stuff that you haven't dealt with yet. What you're bringing to the table, bring your whole self to the table. And when I say your whole self, I mean you have worked on you. Through and through, you have worked on you. So that when you come to the table, and you come sit down at the table, you're a whole person. It's not fragments of you lying around, and still waiting for you to gather them up and put you back together again. No. You need to be a whole person.
Say Humpty Dumpty.
Healed and whole.
Yeah.
Those places and spaces that you haven't fixed, you need to heal them, because if you don't, and you're not healed, you'll end up hurting that person who you could possibly end up hurting that person that really loves you and wants you to be in their life.
Hurt people.
Absolutely. So that's my encouragement to men, and I say men first because our men in our culture, our
community.
Our community, yes, that's what we're looking for. Community have a problem with therapy. Have a problem going and sitting and talking to somebody about what's going on inside, what they're feeling. But brother, you need to talk. You need to let it out. You can't. It's not fair to that woman for you not to bring your whole self and be wholly present. Not H-O-L-Y. I'm talking about W-H-O-L-L-Y. Wholly present. Like all of you needs to be present.
You better speak.
And so, and I say that because I want to see our black men healed. The world beats down our black men. So, things happen. Some men don't grow up with their fathers. And men go through trauma too. Not just women, men go through trauma too. And so I love to see men who don't mind taking the time to work on themselves. Don't mind taking the time to go sit and talk to somebody and say, hey, look, man, or whatever, whoever, this is how I'm feeling on the inside. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm going through. It doesn't make you less than a man to do those things. Matter of fact, it makes you more of a man, that you can admit to your manly self that, yeah, I need some help. I'm not good. I'm not in a good place. I'm not in a good space. I'm not where I need to be. I'm not ready for this relationship. Hey, Mrs. Bynum. I'm not ready for this relationship. I'm not ready to move on. I'm not ready for this. And that's being honest with you. Being honest with yourself. Because if you love yourself, like you claim that you do, you will take care of yourself. Because what do? We take care of those we love. And that love should start with you first. Loving yourself. Yes, men, love yourself. Love yourself enough to get the help that you need. Love yourself enough to be able to handle being with that woman who might make more money than you. Love yourself enough to build yourself up to know that you are still a man, and you still the man, and you still the king, no matter what life brings, no matter who she is. If she's willing to love you where you are, then you gotta love you too.
My wife was talking, and
hey, Sharice.
And hey, little sis, I wrote something down. And I didn't even know she was going there, honestly. I thank God for allowing me and my wife to be on one accord so much. You know, her husband takes a beating because Teresa's husband just has his chest out there almost every day on these digital social platforms. You know, I know for a fact that some people look at me like I'm weird or sideways because I don't have a problem exposing my vulnerabilities because I know it does not make me weak. I know when I'm weak, I'm made strong in Christ Jesus. And also I know that there was a time that I didn't have a problem punching you in your face for living. And I say that because that's what I used to think strength was. So often than not, we think physicality denotes strength. We think if I have all the muscles, or excuse me, you think if I have all the muscles, or I can win all the fights, or I scream the loudest, or everybody thinks I'm the toughest, or my reputation is, none of that matters. Because if you're not whole, you're Mr. Wrong for a woman. If you're not whole, you're Mr. Wrong for a man. You know, I wrote this down while she was talking, and I was thinking about men. You know, for like 2 months, Bishop T.D. Jakes had the world in the uproar because he had a message on Father's Day called "Real Men Pour In," and the powers that be took a soundbite and then they created a whole narrative. And the narrative that was created was that T.D. Jakes' view was archaic. He's coming with the old women supposed to work in the house and all that. And basically, they took the soundbite and the feminist group ran with it. You know, the LGBTQI group ran with it. Outside groups just ran with it. And it was like, okay, now I can attack this black man. And I'm saying to myself, the message began with black men not doing their jobs. And when black men don't do their jobs, it caused women to have to do more of the jobs. See, that's what the whole message was about. Because I know a lot of times people just take a soundbite and they just run with it. And when you tell them to listen to the whole thing, they won't. That's why so many people are so judgmental of somebody's past, because they've only taken the past. But the present and the future is a whole different thing. The past was just a springboard that helped the present be present. You know, and real men don't want to take a woman's independence from them. Real men just want to be codependent. You know what I mean? Real men don't want to take a woman's independence. If Teresa comes in this house tomorrow and says, baby, I'm going to be making $135,000 a year. They gave me a $20,000 signing bonus. You know what I'm going to be? I'm going to already be looking at the bills because she knows how I am about money. I'm going to already be looking at, and this is the funny thing, and I do this now. I've done this when I was basically the breadwinner. You know what I mean? Made all the money. I say, what does she need to take care of first? Ain't that what I always did? Because my first thing is I want to make sure that my wife is straight, my kid is straight. I'm my only child. My mama's straight. I know. Yeah, I'm a mama's boy. It is what it is. But I want to make sure that the ladies in my life are straight before I even take care of me. Because God gave her to me to take care of. This is not me controlling Teresa's finances. Do not. This is not me saying you're going to do what I say. Do not. I like to wash my own clothes. I like to cook my own food. Guess what I've had to do? I've had to be codependent and not do it because sometimes I used to wash clothes and stuff and she'd be like, so you just couldn't wait for me to do it? but I just like to do it. I was raised by my mom. I grew up, I had to do it. So I am used to, check this out, ladies. I am a man and I'm used to doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, and all the clothes washing. True or false? You know what I mean? To a point, I was obsessive one time. And I also was incarcerated where you had to stay clean, or somebody could wake up one day and take your life because the cell dirty. I know that sounds crazy, but it's reality. Because when men don't know how to deal with trauma, this is the things that they do. We're talking about Mr. and Mrs. Wrong for people who are coming in right now. And the basis is, have you, and y'all feel free to say it out there in the world, have you had Mr. or Mrs. Wrong? You knew that it was Mr. or Mrs. Wrong, but you said, well, I can fix them.
Yep.
I know you thought you could fix them attitude, didn't you?
Yeah.
Thought you could love them and heal them, didn't you? You said, the devil is a lie. You can't.
Cannot.
You cannot. You cannot love anybody to heal. God can heal them to love, but you can't. You can try your hardest to love the hell out of somebody. If they still want to raise hell, there's nothing you can do about it.
That's right.
You know, and I'm speaking from a premise that I was Mr. Wrong. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I was Mr. Wrong. I know I'm Mr. Right now, but it ain't got nothing to do with me, nor arrogancy, nor narcissism. I know I'm Mr. Right because I know I got Christ in my life. I learned how to be a husband. I had no experience on even dating. As a child, as a young man, I never dated. We didn't go out on dates. We went to Condo Lodge. We went to, what that little hotel was it there? Blue something. Before it became Hampton Inn. Anybody know what the hotel was way back in the day before it became Hampton Inn? It was a whole lot of stuff.
Wow.
But, you know, it was across the street from Matt's Sub Shop. You know, I never dated. I went to girls' house while parents were gone. I went to apartments. So I had to learn how to date. And one of the most humbling things is I had to ask advice from people who were married or who didn't know how to do this. Because I don't have a clue on how to do it. Because I was preparing myself to be Mr. Right. Some of us have wasted a long time on Mr. Wrong, Mrs. Wrong.
Yeah.
Still wasting time, and you know it. And you sitting here right now, probably done turned us off like, I ain't gonna listen to them. It is what it is. We all been there, mama. We all been there, daddy. We been there. We know how it go. Some of us right now are wasting valuable and precious time with po-ass, no-ass, beating your ass, all those kind of things that, what's his name? Pastor
Jensen Franklin.
Pastor Jensen Franklin was saying about Boaz. Some of y'all are waking up and the Boaz ain't in your house. And some of y'all are waking up and Ruth ain't in your house. If anybody who want to go, please don't go talk about that the armor bearer was cussing. He was not. Please don't do that. But you know, I'm just being honest. Don't do that. But yeah, some of us are waking up, and it ain't Deborah and Barack in our house. It ain't Rebecca and Jake. We waking up not next to Ruth. We waking up next to we had chose Mr. and Mrs. Wrong. Or the bigger question is, show of hands, how many of y'all have been Mr. and Mrs. Wrong? That's where the honesty comes out of it. How many of y'all have been Mr. or Mrs. Wrong and know it and enjoy being Mr. Wrong or Mrs. Wrong? The word said, yes, been there. Yeah, sometimes this is what it is.
You know, I think about the story of Samson and Delilah.
Yeah, girl.
That is like the epitome of choosing Mrs. Wrong.
He was wrong.
He was wrong and he chose Mrs. Wrong.
That's what really happened.
So when, like I said before, when your mindset isn't right,
Man.
you will make bad choices. you will choose the wrong thing, the wrong person.
Lust.
And that for Samson, that's what it was. He was after Delilah because of lust. And so we know the story of Samson and what happened to him. In the end, he lost his life. And so we don't want that to happen to any of us.
Absolutely
that
not.
You lose your life or you lose yourself being involved in the wrong relationship, being with the wrong person. I want to read this scripture since we're talking about being whole. In Psalms 73, verse 26, it says, "My flesh and my heart fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." Which means that God is the one that completes us.
Yeah.
No man, no woman is going to complete us. God does that.
We tried it. Didn't work.
And so he is the one that will give you the strength. He'll give you the know-how. If we put him first and allow him to lead and guide us in making the right choice of who we desire to be, it's nothing wrong with asking God, is this the right person? Are you sure this is who I'm supposed to be with? And if God says no, then you got to accept the no and be like, okay, God, then I'll move on. And I'll wait for you. I'll wait. Because you've got to know the value of who you are, that you are worth waiting for. And that goes for women and men. You are worth waiting for. And no one can put a stamp of value on you because Jesus paid the ultimate value for you. And so that's what they're trying to do. You are with your value is astronomical.
Limitless.
Yes. And so you cannot settle in this life. You can't settle for who you think you belong with. Seek the Lord and he will show you. He will direct you. He will give it to you. And you got to be willing to wait for the answer. Because some of us think that we pray to God and instantly he's going to answer.
And it's not the case.
Sometimes it don't take it. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Because God just wants to see what you're going to do. Are you going to move ahead of him? Are you going to go and choose on your own because he's taking too long? Because you think he's taking too long? Because in my experiences, his timing is perfect. Perfect. And he will answer you right on time. He will answer you right on time. Before I married Danielle, or before we moved to that type of relationship as far as being engaged, I didn't even tell him. I didn't tell anybody actually. And I decided to go on a fast. And it was for a whole week. I fasted and I was praying and asking God because I didn't want to make a mistake. I was like, God, I just do not want to be wrong in this choice. I don't want to be wrong. And so for me, when you're standing before people and God and you are declaring that you are vowing that you're going to be with this person from till death do you part. For me, that's what it means. Divorce is not an option. For me, it is not an option.
What does that mean for you?
And so,
Us.
I'm talking about me. Yeah, I'm talking about me right now. Okay. Let me tell my story. So for me, divorce was not an option. I'm talking about before I got married, honey. And so, so I went on a fast and I prayed, and I was praying during that week and just asking God to show me, and and I think by the end of that week, almost at the end of that week, God answered me, and I knew it was God, and I remember just breaking down crying because nobody knew that I was seeking God for an answer. Nobody knew I was fasting. I just kept it between me and God. because I didn't want the influence of anybody else trying to tell me what they think or, what I didn't want none of that. I didn't want to hear nobody else's voices. I just wanted to know what God was saying. And so he answered me. And so that's how, I would say that's how desperate you have to be to want to hear from God. Not desperate for a man or woman. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about desperate enough that you will wait for an answer from God because you don't want to step outside of what he wants for you or who he wants for you. You don't want to make the wrong choice. And in the that was the New King James Version, but in the Passion Translation, that same verse says, Lord, so many times I fail, I fall into disgrace. But when I trust in you, I have a strong and glorious presence, protecting and anointing me. Forever, you're all I need. So when we wait on God, when we trust in him for the answer, that is our protection. He is protecting us from making the wrong choices. When we are willing to wait on him and seeking for the answer. And that's just not in relationship. That's for anything.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to do, you think that you want to do, you have a desire to do, you're not sure, you don't know what God is saying. Take the time to seek him for the answer.
Yeah.
Take the time to spend time with him and hear what he's saying. Don't tell everybody what you don't want to hear. You got to tell everybody. Because sometimes that gets a lot of different opinions. People give their opinion. But you don't want their opinion. You want God's opinion. Because that is the opinion that matters. And so when you seek him and you trust in him, like this says, because we do fail him, but when you trust in him, his presence is protecting you. He will be your protector in the choices that you make. We can save ourselves from a lot of heartache if we just seek a God first and we ask him first. People.
Hey, Rob.
Come on, people. I'm serious. We can save ourselves a lot of heartache and pain if we just wait and ask the Father first.
I'm scared to talk right now.
Why are you scared to talk?
Wow. So, one of the things that I did, because we talk about it a lot, but one of the things that I did, jokingly, God called me out on it. The backstory to what Teresa was saying
That's right.
is,
I'm sorry.
she had already told me that she wasn't having sex with anyone until she got married. And a couple of days ago I thought about this. The Bible is very, very, very particular about its particulars. And what that means is God honors his word. His word will not return unto him void. It will accomplish exactly the thing that he pleaseth. So me and my friend Dwayne, in 1998 maybe 99, not sure, we sat and we were talking. And he looked at me one day, and I had a picture of Deja and Teresa. And he said, out of the clear blue sky, man, God gonna give you them. He gonna give you your family back. He said, man, and I'm going home and I'm gonna get with such and such. I laughed at him. I said, boy, you crazy. And I thought about that when I was looking at a picture of Teresa and Deja on my phone. You know how you pray for some things and you never think it could happen? So that night I prayed, probably because I had just started, at that time, I was searching for everything. So at this time I had tried to be a Muslim. And Kent was just telling me, man, he was praying to Jesus. And I was like, all right. So after he got done praying, I made my prayer. And I made mention of Teresa and Deja. And that was 1999. 1999. Delayed not denied really means that. The vision is for an appointed time. You just got to stand upon the tower, upon your watch, and see what the Lord's going to say to you. I mean, you're reproved. You have to do it. Teresa talked about patience. And I started this off with saying that, you know, God is funny sometimes. Because you guys hear me and Teresa make this joke about how I said something about marriage and we started playing with the calendar. This is before she even fasted, wasn't it? This was after you fasted? So you already knew to be my wife then. So we start playing with the calendar. Me, I'm saying to myself, I gotta hurry up and sleep with somebody because I'm about to pass out out here in these streets. And so we're playing with the calendar. And everybody, I'm gonna keep it real. 85% of the people I talk to is like, man, don't get married. You done spent all this time. You should be dating. You should get your life together. You should be put all of these things that I should be doing. And all I did was pray. I said, God, I'm doing what you're directing me to do, right? So I tell my same friend Dwayne, man, I'm gonna marry Teresa. And my friend Dwayne says, man, remember when I told you when we were sitting up that night that God was gonna give you back your family? And I said, yeah, I remember. He said, remember I told you who I was coming home today? He said, we got 2 kids. I said, yeah. He said, man, I had never even talked to this woman a day in my life. I said, you had not. You know? And I think about even when you're searching for Mrs. Right or you're waiting on Mr. Right, you gotta have the right people around you to help shield you, shelter you, and push you forward. So you gotta have a correlation of rightness around you. You gotta have the right people in your ear. You gotta have the right people to tell you, nah, bro, she ain't it. Nah, sis, that ain't him. You know what I mean? You gotta have the right people, and you have to understand righteousness enough to be wrong and not be upset with the people who are giving you right information. Because God sends you people to give you right information. And most of the times, because of our own lust or pride or ignorance or selfishness or whatever you want to attribute to yourself, we will push it off because we want what we want. God put the right people around me to say, if this is what you want to do, then do it. But know you're going to have to do this, 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 and this, so you don't feel less of a man. Because Teresa had great patience with me, because I didn't know how to do nothing. I knew how to do one thing: hustle. work 2 minimum wage jobs just so I can make $15. You know what I mean? Moving furniture just so we can have extra money. Cause I wanted to be a man, put her in an apartment. I don't care. I'm in Maryland, but she gonna be in a place by herself that we can take care of. Because that's what a man's supposed to do. I'm learning all that stuff on the fly. I get a job, we get a car, I gotta get her a car. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this. And in the process of me thinking what I had to do, God said, I'm gonna allow you to think what you have to do, and when you finish, I'm gonna show you what you need to do. And my wife just pointed at the phone, it's 9 o'clock. So I've wrapped myself up and let her in this with this. You know, at the end of the day, form a coalition of rightness. Or get the result of wrongness. The choice is yours. You can get with this, or you can get with that.
So yes, we appreciate everyone being on here tonight. I hope that you all gained something from what we said. Seems like time goes by so fast when we're in a topic that's a good topic. But like I said, I hope that you all gained. Thank you for the comments that was made. We will definitely go back and read through them after this. And just keep in mind that make sure that you are whole and you are complete in who you are and who God wants you to be. That's the most important. Love yourself. I can't express that enough. Love yourself. Make sure you love yourself completely before you try to give yourself to someone else. Okay? And with that, we want to say good night, and we will see you back again real soon.
Love y'all.
Good night.
Yeah.